On this episode of From One Player to Another, we have part 2 of my interview with Vinny Appice, legendary drummer of Black Sabbath, Dio, Last in Line, and many others. This is Greg Marra with Go DPS Music Live, and this is From One Player to Another.
Right. I was saying that the 3 years I went for lessons, a lot of it, most of it was spent on the practice pad. You know, I did 2 pages of, I'd go through stick control and syncopation at the same time, those 2 books, 2 pages in each book, and we go over it, and then I'd take it away home, practice all week. Then when I went back, we'd go over what I was supposed to know quickly. And if I practice, it wouldn't take, very long to do it. And then we'd move on. And then sometimes he'd show me, something else, paradiddles or rough triplets or different things, how he played them. And he was just a great teacher, but most of the time was spent on the pad. And then I went on to Jim Chapman's, which is a famous jazz book.
Yeah.
Where you go boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom on the right hand. That was on the drums because you had to hear the sound and tone of the drums too.
So at some point you have this grip where you hold the stick between your pointer finger and your middle finger. Joe had mentioned that. Can you talk about that? I've never seen it. Obviously we have traditional grip, we have the caveman grip. What is that about?
It's the way you would twirl it. Oops. Actually, Carmine showed me that because he was doing it first.
Yep.
I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm playing like this, Then switch back, switch. And it was a good way to, if you're playing standard grip like this, good way to twist it around so you could relieve the muscles.
Okay.
A little bit. Go like this, and it's a very good grip because you're not going to lose the stick at all. Actually, more of a grip than this. So I was playing like that, and it became like a security blanket, playing like that. And then one time, actually, for Go DPS, I was doing the first drum clinic years ago, about 5-6 years ago. And I was messing around, and we were going to start in about an hour, and I'm twirling, just all of a sudden my finger went, I couldn't do it anymore. It hurt. I sprained something. So I had to do the clinic like that, So ever since then, I started playing traditional. And go back now, it's strong again. I go back once in a while. So this was more in the finger where it hurt. Yeah, it's almost like you're pulling something with one finger, a suitcase, you lift it up, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a pinched nerve almost,
Yeah. You had mentioned in one of the pre-interviews about you use an overhead mic technique. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because obviously we know the XY pattern, we know the sort of the parallel mics overhead.
Well, the cool thing about having a little studio like this is I'm the engineer. I run it with a wireless keyboard back there.
Yeah.
Up at the monitor. And I get to use whatever mics I have in different positions. There's a bathroom over there. And the door's open, and right by the toilet is another mic. And that just gives us some crack into the mix, And I use this mic, actually. This is a bass drum mic right in front of the drums for another kind of room sound. And I got 2 other room mics. So I saw a picture of John Bonham's studio setup. It looks like the first album. And they had overhead mics, one over there in front of the crash cymbal, pointing at the floor tom, it looks like. And then I have one in the back of the kit pointing at the snare drum. So they're like, here's the front one, here's the back one. But you can look up some of the old John Bonham pictures, and there is one that has the miking technique, and they just had a mic in front of the head of the bass
Yeah.
drum. There was no hole. They didn't have holes back then. Nobody did that.
Do you record drums at your home studio and then ever provide those for other artists? I mean, is that something that if someone wanted to have Vinny Appice record drums, is that available to people?
Yeah.
Nice.
Email and stuff, but it's got to be the right music and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'll record it. First, I'll listen to the song a lot. I don't just slop drums on the songs.
Yeah.
Even if they're not my own songs, I listen to it and I get into the vibe of the song. It's like an artist paints a picture. It needs more red. It needs more blue. I try to get into the songs like that and capture a feel and a vibe. I don't play on top of the song. I play in the song.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always done it. I hear it. It reminds me of things, and that's what I create the feel,
It's very orchestrated. That was the thing I always noticed about the Dio records is it seemed like your drumming always followed a particular vocal line or definitely a guitar line. And I saw something you did live. You were playing an older Dio song. This was just a few years back. And the guitar player played some sort of pattern that he repeated, and you followed him. And then you guys were doing it together. You're very much an interactive drummer. How was it writing with Dio, and how is it writing with Last in Line?
Well, before that, I'll tell you what, live, Last in Line, we play pretty loud. I have monitors, and Viv plays through two bottoms, and we don't use in-ears and all that. Our singer, Andrew Friedman, uses the in-ears. So when I play live, or with anybody jamming, I'll listen to see if there's I'm scanning the stage to see what I could pick up on. So if I hear Viv doing a certain lick, even if I didn't catch it that night, I might have caught the end. I'll remember for the next night and surprise him and do it with him. And I'm always scanning to look at, the bass player, Phil, if he's plays some lick, oh, cool, I'll go jump on that for a minute,
Yeah.
So I'm listening. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's listening to your band you're playing with. A lot of guys don't listen to each other.
Right.
I've seen guys playing, you go in another world like this. and the guitar player left the stage to go talk to his girlfriend. You don't even know he's still playing. It's like, you got to be aware, So I'm always looking and listening to what's going on stage and keeping it tight,
Well, I always love drummers like your style. I think of John Bonham, yourself. The reason why I like it is because as a guitar player, primarily, I want to sometimes put a 16th note triplet or 6-note grouping at the very end of a phrase, and a drummer like you will not rush the last 16th note triplet. You're not going to, and most drummers will. They'll rush the very end of a fill. And a drummer like yourself, it's almost like you're pulling it back. You're pulling back on the reins.
Yeah, it makes it heavier.
Yeah.
I actually hear in my head all the time, like when I'm playing, just almost like a giant metronome.
Mm-hmm.
Even now. Those last notes, you can't rush them. There's no need to rush them. You bring them in, boom, 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 boom. They're as solid and steady as the rest of the stuff. Boom. Those are the important ones. It brings it right in. If you rush it, it goes
Yeah.
I learned, from playing with Tony Iommi, especially Tony and Geezer, how to lay it back. Those guys, you listen to that, man. Tony doesn't really rush. He's solid, and Geezer too. It's like a plane with a wall foundation.
Yeah.
Monster foundation with those guys. So I learned how to lay back. Playing with them, and it makes it heavier, and it gives everybody kind of a better feel to come in on the ones, and I think it makes it easier for the band to play with. Not rushing. I mean, certain songs could rush, but you want to, basically remain steady, solid. It really makes a point.
We talked about Last in Line. I saw you once at the Whiskey I saw you a bunch of times. I was at a bunch of rehearsals because we have, Andrew Freeman's a good friend of mine, your singer. But I want to bring up something that I noticed. At some point, you decided to just go with a four-piece band. And I think when I asked Andrew, he said, that band started without a keyboard player. What's the story behind that? Is there a story behind that?
Yeah. Dio started with just the four of us. And the thing on the Rainbow in the Dark, there's a keyboard part. That was Jimmy Bain. We were in the rehearsal. We recorded onto cassette the song. We were playing the back. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy went over to the keyboard and played that riff with a cigarette in his mouth and a Jim Beam in his other hand. And he played the riff. And we were like, holy shit, that's great. That's it. So we put that on the record. So there were no keyboards in the room. Any other keyboards, there was a bit here and there with Ronnie playing keyboards. He's playing some chords and played the intro to Holy Diver. So then when we went out live, Ronnie, in the tradition of Sabbath and Rainbow, wanted a keyboard player off stage. So when the guitar goes to solos, there's some underneath, support.
Yeah.
Heavy lifting underneath. And that's how we brought in Claude Schnell, was the keyboardist, and he started playing off to the side of the stage. And we did it in Sabbath on Mob Rules tour. We had Jeff Nichols, he was off to the side. And that's how it came about, But we're not really a keyboard band, so all those, we're a guitar band. But what happens when you have a keyboard player is, what are you going to do when you bring them on stage? They're playing a couple of parts and standing there.
Yeah.
It winds up getting doubled, everything getting doubled.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing the same riff as the bass or the guitars, and it gets a little cluttery sometimes,
Yeah.
just for our sake.
Yeah.
We were a guitar band. So
yeah.
That's what happened, So, and then we had a keyboard player on the road with us, and there was some bickering going on between him and the bass player. And he left the tour, in the middle of the tour with Last in Line. And we were scheduled to go to Texas, so we had to play it without the keyboards, and it was good. And then we just let it rip. We just kept the four of us,
Yeah, it's definitely enough music on stage. When you see it live, you don't feel like anything's missing.
We missed, that part from Rainbow in the Dark, and Last in Line, the song Last in Line has some keyboards in the beginning and stuff. But shit, we got used to it, and it's powerful as hell now,
Yeah, for sure. What's coming up for you guys? Last in Line has 2 records out, Heavy Crown and Last in Line 2. Is there a Last in Line 3?
Yes, there's Last in Line 3.5 or 2.5.
Okay.
Half of it's done.
Yeah.
Right now, Andrew's putting some vocals on there, and Viv's got to do some solos, and then we'll have half of it done, and then we'll get together soon to write some more stuff together.
Nice.
We write together, Andrew writes by himself, his vocal melodies and lyrics and all that stuff, which does a great job. Fantastic. So he's, goes into his man cave and does his thing.
What's the rest of 2020 look like for you?
Well, we're Last in Line, we're supposed to do some dates around Halloween weekend. So we're going to see what happens there. Myself, I'm supposed to go to Europe at the end of September, and then South America in September, October, around there. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think it's a big question mark for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be playing already all this time, and everything got pushed back. So I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. So that's why everything's kind of turning to online. And, a lot of these companies are going online. Joe from GoDPSmusic.com is putting on a lot of online information. And it's like very cool to be on the forefront of this. Looks like where it's going for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
even what's like
I do my first lesson for everybody tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Vinny Appice behind the kit.
Vinny
worked room behind that kit. There's a big hall there. With the video, I got video camera, I got all the mics, cables, I got a mixer there, and I get in there and I trip over everything.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Well, Vinny, we can find you at vinnyappice.com. Where are some other places that folks can find you?
We got AppiceBrothers.com, Carmine and I, and then LastInLineOfficial.com. It's got all the Last in Line stuff,
Awesome.
And yeah, Facebook. There's 2 Facebook, a fan page of my own, so you can find me.
Well, I have a feeling this could have been a 4-parter. This was a 2-parter, but I have so many more questions I have for you, Vinny. But look, I'll let you get back to your day, and I really thank you so much for doing this. This was an awesome interview. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you, Greg, and I look forward to the future with this kind of stuff, interviews and clinics and lessons, whatever. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thanks, Vinny. Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our socials on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere else on the web. This is Greg Marra with Go DPS Music Live. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.